I checked the bank account while sitting in my husband's ICU room. $87,500 gone. His own mother wired our savings to her boyfriend's dealership, maxed out her credit cards on our dime, and booked a cruise while he was on a ventilator. I need someone to tell me I'm not crazy. My husband had a stroke at 38 years old. He was lying in the ICU at University of Louisville Hospital, tubes coming out of places I didn't even know tubes could go. And while I was sleeping in a plastic chair next to his bed, holding his hand and praying he'd squeeze back, his own mother was draining every single dollar we had. $87,500. 9 years of savings. Gone in 6 weeks. And when I finally caught her, she looked me dead in the eye and said I was just the woman he married. My name is Megan. I'm 34. I'm a veterinary technician at a small animal clinic in the Highlands neighborhood of Louisville, Kentucky. My husband Derek and I were high school sweethearts from Shelbyville. We built everything from scratch. No trust funds, no inheritance, no help from anybody. We got married young, had 2 kids. Aiden is 9, Lily is 6. We bought a modest 3-bedroom ranch in Linden, and every single month for 9 years, we put money into a joint savings account at Republic Bank. $87,500. That's what discipline looks like. That's skipping vacations, driving used Hondas with 200,000 miles on them, packing lunches every single day. Derek managed HVAC projects. I cleaned dog teeth and expressed anal glands for $14 an hour. We weren't rich. We were careful. There's a difference. Now let me tell you about Constance, Derek's mother. 63 years old. Lived in a duplex in Okolona that she'd already taken a second mortgage on. Maxed out credit cards. A rotating lineup of boyfriends who always seemed to need a loan. She never liked me. Not from day one. Every Thanksgiving, she'd find something. My mashed potatoes were too lumpy. I let the kids watch too much television. I folded Derek's work shirts wrong. Wrong. Like there's a certified method for folding a shirt. Derek always said the same thing. That's just how Mom is. She means well. He bailed her out twice. Once for $4,000 when her car got repossessed. Once for $6,500 when she owed back rent. I bit my tongue both times. I told myself it was the cost of keeping the peace. I told myself, family is family. I was an idiot. The Tuesday it happened, Derek was on a job site in Jeffersontown. Commercial install. Big building. He told his foreman his head felt like it was splitting open, and then he dropped. Just dropped. They called 911 at 2:47 in the afternoon. I know because I stared at that timestamp on the hospital paperwork until the numbers burned into my brain. Hemorrhagic stroke. Severe. The doctors at U of L Health used words like significant bleeding and uncertain prognosis. They rushed him into emergency surgery. I stood in a hallway that smelled like floor wax and watched them wheel my husband through double doors, and I didn't know if I'd ever hear his voice again. I went into survival mode. There's no other way to describe it. Hospital during the day, kids at night. My boss at the clinic gave me flexible hours, which really meant I worked early mornings and came in on Saturdays. I was sleeping maybe 3 hours a night, eating vending machine crackers, running on caffeine and fear. Constance showed up on day 3. She drove up from Okolona, crying so loud the ICU nurses asked her to keep it down. She made the whole waiting room about herself. Told complete strangers her son was dying. He wasn't dying. He was fighting. There's a difference. But then she said something I desperately needed to hear. Megan, honey, let me handle the bills, the mortgage, the insurance calls. You just focus on Derek and the babies. I was so tired, I could barely see straight. So I went to Republic Bank the next morning and added Constance as a temporary authorized user on our joint savings account. She asked for online access, not just check writing privileges, full online access. I remember hesitating for maybe half a second. She said it would be easier to pay bills electronically. That made sense. Red flag number 1, and I missed it completely. Then she told me not to check the account. Don't stress yourself looking at numbers, she said. I'll send you updates every week. You've got enough on your plate. Red flag number 2. She never sent a single update. Not one. And I was too shattered, too exhausted, too focused on whether my husband would ever walk again to notice. 6 weeks later, on a Wednesday night, after the kids were asleep, I opened my laptop and logged into our Republic Bank account for the first time since the stroke. The balance read $11.32. I sat on the bathroom floor. That was my spot. The only room in the house with a lock where I could fall apart without Aiden or Lily hearing. I pulled up the Republic Bank app on my phone and started scrolling through the transaction history. Wire transfer to Bluegrass Motors, LLC, Bowling Green, Kentucky, $43,000. Credit card payoff, Capital One, Constance Weber, $6,200. Credit card payoff, Discover, Constance Weber, $3,800. Charge from a cruise line, $9,400. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the phone in the sink. It landed face up and the screen was still glowing with all those numbers, all those zeros that used to be R's. I called Constance. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. I sent a text. We need to talk about the bank account right now, all caps. I sat there on the cold tile watching the screen. She replied 40 minutes later. I'm busy, Megan. We can talk tomorrow. Busy. She was busy. My husband couldn't feed himself, and she was busy. I didn't sleep that night, not 1 minute. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and screenshotted every single transaction, every wire, every payment, every dollar. The next morning, I printed all of it on the office printer at the clinic before my shift started. 23 pages. I stacked them in a manila folder, shoved it in my bag, and worked 8 hours cleaning teeth and holding down a Rottweiler for blood draws like my entire life wasn't crumbling. After my shift, I drove straight to Constance's duplex in Okolona. She answered the door in a bathrobe. New bathrobe. Tag still on. I held up the folder. Constance, there is $11 in our savings account. Where is our money? She didn't even blink. I used it for family expenses. Derek would have wanted me to take care of things. You wired $43,000 to a car dealership in Bowling Green. You paid off your credit cards. You booked a cruise, Constance, a cruise, while your son is relearning how to hold a spoon. She crossed her arms and leaned against the doorframe like I was a solicitor she was about to dismiss. That money was always supposed to be for my son's family, and I am his family. You're just the woman he married. I felt every single year of biting my tongue burn up at once. I am the mother of your grandchildren. That money was for Aiden and Lily's future. It was for Derek's rehab. You'll make it back. You're young. Now stop being dramatic and leave my house. She shut the door. I heard the deadbolt click. I sat in my car in her driveway for 20 minutes. I cried so hard I couldn't see the steering wheel. Snot and tears and sounds I didn't know I could make. Then something shifted. The grief didn't go away. It just froze. It turned into something harder and colder and quieter. I thought about Aiden asking last week why he couldn't do baseball camp this summer. $45 a week. I thought about Lily needing new glasses. I thought about the stack of physical therapy bills on the kitchen counter that I'd been too afraid to open. I pulled out my phone, opened the Notes app, and typed 5 words. Get the money back. Make her pay. Don't stop until it's done. I drove home, kissed both kids goodnight, and sat down at the kitchen table with my laptop. I organized every bank statement into a folder, named it Constance. I did not cry again that night. The next morning at the clinic, Janelle cornered me in the supply room. Janelle is 41. We'd worked together for 3 years. She noticed my red eyes and my hands shaking while I tried to draw up a vaccine. Megan, talk to me. I broke down and told her everything. Every transfer, every dollar, the cruise, the words, just the woman he married. Janelle set down the vaccine tray and looked at me like I'd just told her someone committed a crime, because that's exactly what I'd told her. Before becoming a vet tech, Janelle spent 8 years as a paralegal at a family law firm in Frankfurt. She knew things. Megan, this is not a family argument. This is theft. In Kentucky, anything over $10,000 is a felony. Class C. You need to document everything, and I mean everything. Bank records, texts, timestamps, screenshots. I will help you. That night, I spread every printout across my kitchen table and called Janelle on speakerphone. We went line by line through 6 weeks of transactions. That's when I found one I hadn't noticed before. A wire transfer for $7,200 to an account number I didn't recognize, dated 2 days ago. 2 days after I'd confronted Constance at her door. She wasn't just stealing from us. She was still doing it. Janelle came over the next night with her old laptop and a legal pad. We sat at my kitchen table until 2 a.m. building a spreadsheet. Every single transaction. Dates, amounts, recipients. When we finished, the numbers looked even worse laid out in rows. $43,100 wired to Bluegrass Motors, LLC in Bowling Green. That was a car dealership owned by Constance's boyfriend, Ray Durbin. $18,700 across 3 credit card payoffs. Capital One, Discover, a Citi card I didn't even know she had. $9,400 to Royal Caribbean for a cruise. The $7,200 wire I'd found went to Ray Durbin's personal checking account, and $9,100 in cash withdrawals from ATMs scattered across Jefferson County. $87,500. Every penny accounted for. Every penny gone. The next morning, I walked into Republic Bank on Bardstown Road and formally revoked Constance's authorized user access. The branch manager pulled up our account, looked at the history, and went quiet for a long time. He flagged the account and gave me certified transaction records. 41 pages. I carried them out in a paper bag because I didn't have a briefcase, and I refused to cry in a bank lobby. Janelle taught me how to preserve evidence. Screenshots with timestamps, printed statements with the bank's letterhead, and the text exchange. That one mattered. Constance's own words. I used it for family expenses. Janelle said that was close enough to an admission that any prosecutor would love it. 2 days later, Constance called me. I thought maybe she'd come to her senses. Maybe the guilt had finally cracked through. I was wrong. She wasn't calling to apologize. She was calling to threaten me. If I made this a thing, she said, she'd tell the entire family I was neglecting Derek at the hospital. She'd say the stroke happened because of the stress I put him under. She said she would make sure everyone knew what kind of wife I really was. I let her talk. I let her say every single word. Then I hung up and wrote down everything she said in my notes app with a timestamp. She moved fast. Within a day, Derek's Aunt Patricia called me. Her voice was cold. She said Constance told the family I'd gambled the money away online and was trying to frame my own mother-in-law to cover it up. Gambling. I've never placed a bet in my life. 3 of Derek's cousins blocked me on Facebook that afternoon. One of them posted a vague status about Snakes in the family. I stared at it for 10 seconds, closed the app, and went back to my spreadsheet. Then Ray Durbin left a voicemail on my phone. His voice was low and slow and deliberate. Drop this nonsense, Megan, or things are going to get real uncomfortable for you. I saved the voicemail. I backed it up to my cloud drive. I played it for Janelle. She smiled and said, "That man just handed you a gift." I drove to the Louisville Metro Police Station on a Thursday morning. I brought the spreadsheet, the certified bank records, Constance's text messages, and Ray's voicemail. The detective who took my report was a financial crimes investigator. She spread everything across her desk, read through it for 15 minutes without saying a word, then looked up and said, "This is a strong case." 3 words. I almost fell out of my chair. Janelle connected me with a financial abuse attorney named Dana Whitfield. Dana worked out of an office on West Main and specialized in elder and financial exploitation cases in Jefferson County. She reviewed my evidence in one sitting and took the case on a partial contingency basis. She said she'd seen cases like this before, but rarely with a paper trail this clean. Dana filed an emergency motion in Jefferson County Circuit Court to freeze every account connected to Constance and to the stolen funds. Then Derek's cousin Marcus called me. Marcus was 36, a forensic accountant at a firm in Lexington. He'd heard the real story from Derek's Aunt Lorraine. She was the one family member who believed me from the start. God bless Lorraine. Marcus was furious. He offered to trace the full money trail pro bono. I sent him everything I had. Within a week, he mapped every dollar, where it went, when it moved, which accounts touched it, every transfer, every withdrawal, every deposit on the receiving end. His report was 47 pages long, and it became the backbone of the legal case. He called me when he finished and said, "Megan, she didn't even try to hide it. It's like she thought she was entitled to every cent." The court granted the emergency freeze on a Thursday morning. Constance's accounts, Ray's accounts, Bluegrass Motors LLC, all frozen. Dana called me at noon to tell me. I was in the clinic parking lot eating a granola bar for lunch. I said thank you and hung up and sat there shaking. By Thursday afternoon, Constance had been arrested at Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. 2 packed suitcases, a one-way ticket to Cancun. The preliminary hearing in Jefferson County Circuit Court was on a Monday. I wore the only blazer I owned. Janelle sat behind me. Marcus drove in from Lexington at 5 in the morning to be there. Aunt Lorraine sat in the second row with tissues already in her hand. 2 of my coworkers from the clinic came. Derek's physical therapist, a woman named Brooke, who'd become something like a friend over the past 4 months, sat at the end of the row. I looked across the aisle at Constance's side. Empty. Every single seat. Ray Durbin had vanished. Her own sisters didn't show. Not one person in the world came to sit behind Constance Weber. She was charged with theft by unlawful taking over $10,000. Class C felony in Kentucky. 5 to 10 years. Her court-appointed attorney stood up and called it a family misunderstanding. He argued I had given Constance full discretion over the funds, that I'd handed her the keys and now I was angry about how she drove. Dana Whitfield stood up and took him apart in under 4 minutes. She presented the Republic Bank authorization form. It said, "Bill payment purposes only," right there on the signature line. She showed the text messages. She entered Marcus's 47-page forensic report, tracing every dollar from our savings account directly into Ray Durbin's failing dealership and Constance's personal credit cards. The judge read the authorization form twice. Constance's attorney stopped talking. Then Dana said she had a witness statement to read into the record from Derek. He'd been recovering at a rehabilitation center in St. Matthews, slowly getting back motor function on his left side, relearning how to grip a fork, how to write his name. With the help of his occupational therapist, he'd written a statement, 2 pages. His handwriting was shaky. Some of the letters slanted the wrong way. It took him 3 days to finish it. Dana read it aloud, and the courtroom went silent. My mother was given access to protect my family while I couldn't. She chose to rob them instead. Megan is my family. Aiden and Lily are my family. My mother made her choice, and it wasn't us. I am asking the court to hold her fully accountable. I don't want her in my life or in my children's lives ever again. Constance started sobbing. Deep, loud, theatrical sobs. She turned in her seat and looked right at me and mouthed the words, "How could you turn my son against me?" I didn't flinch. I didn't respond. I stared straight ahead at the judge's bench, and I didn't move a single muscle in my face. Nobody turned her son against her. She did that all by herself. Constance was convicted and sentenced to 5 years with the possibility of parole after 2. Full restitution of $87,500. Through asset seizure, they took the duplex in Okolona, her car, and everything in the frozen accounts. We recovered $61,200. The remaining $26,300 was structured as a long-term restitution payment. Bluegrass Motors, LLC collapsed within a month. Ray Durbin resurfaced in Tennessee 3 months later, facing his own fraud charges. I didn't follow his case. I didn't care. Derek's Aunt Patricia called me to apologize. Her voice cracked on the phone. I listened and said thank you and hung up. 2 of the cousins who blocked me sent awkward messages. Something about how they didn't know the whole story. I didn't respond to any of them for 3 months. I didn't owe anyone quick forgiveness. 4 months after the sentencing, a handwritten letter arrived from the Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women in Pewee Valley. 3 pages of Constance's handwriting. I was in a bad place. Ray manipulated me. I never meant to hurt the kids. 3 pages of self-pity dressed up as an apology. It ended with a request to be added to the visitor list. I read it at the kitchen table while Aiden did his math homework beside me. I folded it, slid it back into the envelope, and dropped it in the recycling bin. Some letters don't deserve an answer. 14 months after the stroke, Derek came home for good. His left side is still weak. He walks with a slight limp, but he went back to work part-time as an HVAC consultant. And the first paycheck he brought home, he pinned to the refrigerator like a kid bringing back a good report card. The $61,200 went into a new savings account at a different bank. Just 2 names on it, Megan and Derek, nobody else. I got promoted to lead vet tech at the clinic. Aiden started baseball camp, $45 a week and worth every penny. Lily got her new glasses, bright purple frames she picked out herself. We took a weekend trip to Red River Gorge, our first family trip since everything happened. Derek held Lily on his shoulders with his good arm. She laughed so loud it echoed off the rock walls. I took a photo. It's my lock screen now. People ask me if I feel guilty about sending my husband's mother to prison. I don't. She had every chance to be the person Derek needed, and instead, she chose to be the person who robbed his children while he was fighting to survive. I didn't destroy that relationship. She did. The day I checked that bank account and saw $11.32, I learned something I'll carry forever. Love the people who show up for you, and never hand the keys to someone who's only there for what they can take.